Hi there. I have had a draw to create a video today, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to start off with just a couple deep breaths, so if you'd like to join me in that, that would be great. Much better. I always feel better when I take some deep breaths and remember to breathe. One of my reactions or common responses when I feel anxiety is to hold my breath, and so remembering to breathe deeply is a really important tool for me and has enabled me to move through situations with much less anxiety and tension and just that feeling of that anxietal energy within you. I guess today I'll talk a little bit about compassion. That's been coming up a lot for me in the last couple of days, and just learning actually how to give compassion to myself, to speak to myself with compassion, and to be different than my inner critic, which was so automatic and so strong for so long and was always whispering in my ear or yelling at me or being elusive, telling me these nasty things, or like trying to really force me to do things, and it just turns out that doesn't work for me. So speaking to myself with compassion enables me to also, again, relieve that anxiety, but also to not be so hard on myself and give myself some self-love and not talk to myself like I don't like me, like I am worthless. So that's been a really important thing, and the last few days have been kind of difficult for me as far as getting things accomplished. I feel like I've been resisting what I really need to do to accomplish the things that were on my to-do list. And I wasn't really getting angry with myself, but I was disappointed in myself. Like, oh, here we go again, back to these old habits, these old resistances and not accomplishing things. So I took curiosity, which is another tool that I'll talk about probably in another video, that I use often to question why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, or what can I do differently, or how can I ask a question differently to find a different answer. And what I found is I don't have to have the answers to these questions, but just asking them opens up my heart and my brain and my experience to be able to move past the ick, the yucky feeling you get when you're not doing the things you think you should be doing in those moments, and finding a new perspective or finding some new actions to take. And so I think what came up for me the last few days of why are you resisting these things, what's going on, it made me realize that I don't give myself enough credit for what I'm doing. So I have been doing yoga every day, successfully, at least 10 minutes a day, and then I am running 3 times a week, doing some longer runs because I am training for another 50K, and I'm still in this state of just being so disappointed with myself. Like, oh, I'm not doing enough to be physically strong, physically fit, I have to do more. And And I just wonder, when will it ever be enough? Like, yoga every day for half an hour a day or 10 minutes a day when I don't quite fit in the half an hour, and running 3 times a week, up to what will eventually be, 25 to 30 miles. Like, why isn't that enough? Why isn't that enough for me to feel like I'm physically healthy and doing things to promote my physical strength? So, meeting myself with compassion around that is important for me to say, hey, I am doing enough. I am healthy. I am strong. There's nothing about me that's sick. There's nothing about me that isn't striving to be healthy and strong. And I can accept that. And I need to accept that. And I need to find a way to incorporate compassionate things to say to myself to remind me that, hey, you are doing enough. You're doing a lot, actually. You're conscious of your nutrition. You don't make the best choices 100% of the time, but you're conscious of it. You're aware of it. And 80% of the time, you're making good decisions about what you're putting in your body. You're conscious of how much water you drink. You're conscious of your physical strength. Like, there's so many things that I'm doing, but I just can't seem to give myself credit for them or think that they're enough. So I need to put somewhere where I see it often, a message of compassion that, hey, you are doing enough. And on top of that, things are really busy right now. Like, I have a lot going on in my life, and prioritizing fitness is, of course, important to me, but I've had to really make time for it, and I have been doing that. I've been prioritizing it over other things that I wouldn't have previously. So again, I am doing enough. Believe it, Rochelle. Believe it. I don't really know what else to say. Compassion, learning how to be compassionate with yourself and really treating yourself like you're that scared 4-year-old self where you got this pain or these scars from. Like, being compassionate to yourself and talking to yourself like you're a scared or hurt child, 4-year-old or 7-year-old child, is really the easiest way for me to be able to transition into that tone with myself. Another way you can look at it is talk to yourself how you want to be talked to. Everybody, I think, knows how they want to be treated, so talk to yourself in that way. Talk to yourself like you're your best friend, like you love yourself. Talk to yourself like you are your most significant other, because you are. And the words we say to ourselves, especially when we're in pain and suffering and resistance, is so important to us moving beyond that in a way that's healthy and mentally well. So learn to talk to yourself in a more compassionate way. And it does take practice and it takes time. But once you start doing it, the feelings you get after doing it are incredible. Like, it's such a uplifting and unloading experience. Like, you're unloading some pain. You don't have to keep bringing yourself down and listening to your inner critic. Like, that's not the voice that should be speaking to you all the time. And becoming aware of that voice and countering it with self-compassion or compassionate talk with yourself is crucial to becoming more mentally well and to overcoming a lot of your anxiety and just improving your overall health in general. Because I know sometimes with like I was saying with the physical stuff, even with physical health, we still have those inner critics that are very mean to us. And so we need to counter it. We need to become aware of them. And that was also a difficult part, was becoming aware of that inner critic and those voices, because they became so automatic and so elusive to me that it took me a long time and a lot of attention and intention to start to hear them. And when I did start hearing them, it was mind-boggling to me, like, oh my God, this is what I'm saying to myself. This is what I'm hearing on a daily basis. Like, no wonder I feel like crap. Like, that person, that voice, that inner critic is mean. And they know the right things to say to bring you down. Nobody knows you better than yourself, right? So we have to counter that voice. We have to become aware of it first, and we have to counter it with more kind and more compassionate words. I feel like I've said compassion about 800 times so far. But yeah, compassion, big thing. Dr. Kristen Neff, I watched a course, or I went through an online course with her and Brene Brown, probably 2.5 years ago, and it was about self-compassion, and I listened to it and it made no sense to me at all. I just really didn't get it. And then I watched it again just about 6 months ago, and I had finally made enough progress in my self-growth and started recognizing some of these elusive inner critic voices of mine, that it really started to make sense. And so I would say look into Dr. Neff's work. I think it's selfcompassion.org is her website, but she has some really powerful teachings, and watch it again and again. If you don't get it the first time, that's okay. Come back to it later and you might get it. Like, we have to be at a point we're ready to receive the messages. And the first time I watched it, I just really wasn't in a place where I could receive the messages that she was offering. So I would just encourage you to look into her work, listen to her videos. She's done a lot of research on compassion and self-compassion, and she explains how to practice it really well. And that's another important topic, is we have to learn how to practice it with ourselves. It's not going to become automatic unless we practice it. And so when we find ourselves down and feeling in pain or suffering or resisting, like I have been this week, it's those times we need to recognize that, okay, this is where I can use my practice. And if we've been practicing them, it's much easier to incorporate into our habits and our activities and our reactions to how we're feeling. So really practicing talking to yourself kindly, or every time you hear or say something to yourself that's not the nicest, counter it with something that is nice. Like, give yourself credit for something. Like, hey, you got out of bed today. You got out of bed on time, and you got the kids ready and out the door, and nobody fought this morning. Like, find something to give yourself credit for. And it can be as simple as, hey, I love you. I love you and you're important to me, and I am committed to taking actions to heal and become more mentally well and resilient. I said that word funny. Resilient. Yeah, I think that's all I'll say about compassion today, as I say it for the 900th time. I wish you the best day. I wish you compassion. Look for it around you, look for it within you, and most importantly, practice it. Become aware of the times that you need it, the most, because that's when it will help you the most. Obviously, that seems obvious, right? So yeah, if you have any questions about how you can develop a practice and you don't find it with Kristen Neff or at another online resource, feel free to reach out to me, contact me. I would love to introduce some information and some practices to you that could help you start integrating a practice in your life. So, wishing you the best day and all the mental wellness that you are achieving and can ask for.